Ladies and gentlemen, it is a curious thing, is it not, to grow old? The world once vast and brimming with infinite possibility shrinks into smaller circles, narrowing to familiar walls, a well-worn chair, and the quiet tick of the clock. Time, once a friend, now marches on with an indifferent cadence, leaving the elderly to ponder the bittersweet echoes of days gone by. In the halls of what we call homes, those places we have designed to shelter the aged, we find stories waiting not merely to be told, but to be heard. These are not just buildings, they are sanctuaries of unspoken longing, of laughter turned to memory, and of hearts yearning for a kind touch or a familiar voice. Imagine, if you will, the life behind each lined face. Here is a woman who once danced with abandon beneath starlit skies, her laughter a melody that turned heads. Now her days are marked by the creak of her walking frame and the quiet shuffle of slippers on linoleum floors. There is a man who once held the weight of his family's dreams upon his shoulders, a protector and provider. Now his hands tremble as he fumbles with the teacup, his strength a memory that grows more distant with every passing season. Aging is an inevitable journey, a quiet and unrelenting process that transforms not only the body, but the very lens through which we view the world. In youth, the world feels boundless, filled with opportunities waiting to be seized and horizons yet to be explored. Time appears abundant, a faithful companion that marches alongside us, urging us forward with the promise of endless tomorrows. Yet, as the years pass, time subtly shifts its role. What once seemed infinite begins to feel finite, and the boundless world starts to contract. For those in the twilight of their lives, this contraction is not merely physical but deeply emotional and spiritual. The body, once agile and strong, becomes a vessel that carries the weight of years. Joints stiffen, reflexes slow, and even the simplest tasks demand a level of effort that was once unthinkable. But beyond these physical changes lies a deeper truth. The realization that life, once brimming with boundless potential, has taken on a quieter rhythm. The days may stretch on, yet they are often filled with routines that lack the excitement and novelty of youth. What many do not realize is that aging is as much about reflection as it is about progression. For the elderly, the past often feels more vivid than the present. Memories rise to the surface unbidden, bringing with them a bittersweet mixture of joy and melancholy. These memories of first loves, youthful dreams, personal triumphs, and even failures become both a source of comfort and a reminder of what has been lost to the passage of time. Yet there is also a profound wisdom that accompanies aging. With years comes perspective, the ability to see life's fleeting moments not as isolated events, but as threads in the larger tapestry of existence. The elderly often carry an understanding of patience, forgiveness, and resilience that only time can bestow. They know the value of a kind word, the power of a shared laugh, and the importance of being present in the moment. However, this wisdom is often overlooked in a world that glorifies youth and novelty. As people age, they can feel increasingly invisible, as though their contributions to society have been deemed irrelevant. This sense of being sidelined, of watching from the periphery as the world rushes on, can be one of the most painful aspects of growing old. Aging, then, is not just a physical transformation, but a profound emotional and existential journey. It is a process of learning to let go, of dreams unrealized, of loved ones lost, and ultimately of the self we once knew. Yet, it is also a time to embrace a new kind of beauty, one that comes not from what is gained, but from what endures. For those who have the eyes to see it, aging is not merely a closing chapter, but a quiet, dignified testament to the fullness of life itself. Behind every elderly face lies a tapestry of stories, woven with threads of joy, sorrow, triumph, and resilience. These stories are not merely recollections of the past, but living testaments to the depth and breadth of human experience. Yet, in the fast-paced world of today, these treasures often go unnoticed, hidden beneath the veil of age. Consider for a moment the woman sitting quietly in the corner of an old age home. To the casual observer, she might appear unremarkable, another face among many. But delve into her history and you may uncover a tale of extraordinary courage. Perhaps she once defied societal expectations, carving out a life for herself in a time when opportunities for women were scarce. Perhaps she once loved so deeply that it reshaped her entire understanding of the world, or endured loss so profound that it taught her the true meaning of strength. Each wrinkle on her face tells a story, each line a testament to a life fully lived. Then there is the elderly man who sits silently by the window, his eyes fixed on a distant horizon. He may have once been a builder of dreams, a teacher, a farmer, an artist, or an entrepreneur. His hands, now frail and trembling, might have once built homes, painted masterpieces, or cradled a newborn child with infinite tenderness. Those hands carry the memory of every labor, every act of creation, every moment of care. His silence is not emptiness, it is the weight of 1,000 unspoken stories. These stories are not confined to grand achievements or historical milestones. They are often found in the quiet, everyday moments that make up a life. The laughter shared with a friend under a summer sky, the comfort of a warm meal prepared for loved ones, the pride of seeing a child take their first steps. These are the moments that define us. For the elderly, these memories are not just fragments of the past, but anchors that give meaning to the present. Yet these stories often remain hidden because society seldom pauses to ask. In a world obsessed with youth and speed, the wisdom of age is frequently overlooked. The elderly, who have spent decades accumulating knowledge, skills, and insights, are too often dismissed as relics of a bygone era. But the truth is that their stories hold lessons that are timeless. Lessons in perseverance, in love, in forgiveness, and in the enduring human spirit. To uncover these stories requires more than curiosity. It requires patience, empathy, and a willingness to listen. It means setting aside our own assumptions and truly seeing the person before us, not just as they are now, but as they have been and as they still aspire to be. When we take the time to listen, we do not merely honor their past, we enrich our own lives with the wisdom and beauty of their journey. The life stories hidden within the elderly are not relics to be archived, but gifts to be cherished. They are reminders of the resilience of the human spirit and the enduring value of a life well lived. Neglect and loneliness are among the most profound burdens carried by many elderly individuals, particularly those living in old age homes. These feelings often stem not only from physical isolation, but also from emotional disconnection, a sense of being forgotten by the world they once actively contributed to. The weight of this experience is heavy, as it touches the deepest human need, the need to feel valued, loved, and seen. For many older adults, the transition to an old age home marks a dramatic shift in their lives. It often means leaving behind the familiarity of their own homes, the neighborhoods where they built memories, and the daily rhythms that once gave their lives structure and meaning. In their new environment, surrounded by others facing similar struggles, they may find themselves yearning for the presence of loved ones, children, grandchildren, and friends who now visit infrequently, if at all. The absence of these familiar faces deepens their sense of abandonment, leaving them to wonder if they have become an afterthought in the lives of those they once held so dear. Loneliness, however, is not merely a product of physical isolation. It often stems from a lack of meaningful engagement. Conversations with caregivers may be rushed, reduced to basic questions about health or meals, lacking the depth and warmth of genuine interaction. The elderly, who possess a lifetime of stories, wisdom, and experiences, may feel as though their voices are no longer valued. This lack of acknowledgement creates a chasm between them and the world around them, leaving them to retreat further into their own thoughts. The feelings of neglect are exacerbated by societal attitudes that often undervalue the elderly. In a culture that prizes productivity and youthful energy, aging is sometimes seen as a decline rather than a continuation of life's journey. The elderly may internalize these attitudes, feeling as though they are no longer relevant or capable of contributing meaningfully. This perceived loss of purpose can lead to a profound sense of emptiness and despair, as they struggle to reconcile the person they once were with the person they feel they have become. Even within old age homes, where they are surrounded by others, loneliness can persist. Shared spaces do not always translate to shared connections. Many residents grapple with their own grief, whether from the loss of a spouse, declining health, or the separation from their former lives. In such circumstances, it is easy to feel alone, even in a crowded room, as the pain of individual experience often overshadows the potential for collective support. Yet, These feelings are not inevitable, nor should they be accepted as an unavoidable part of aging. With compassion and effort, neglect and loneliness can be alleviated. Acts of kindness, regular visits, and genuine conversations can rekindle a sense of connection. Most importantly, treating the elderly with respect and dignity, acknowledging their worth as individuals with unique stories and emotions, can remind them that they are not forgotten, but cherished. The remedy for loneliness is not found in grand gestures, but in the consistent affirmation of their humanity. Unsput, aren't you? In suddenly, who has companion story of the Oabers and Buzins. Unspoken sorrow and longing are often silent companions for the elderly, especially those living in old age homes. These emotions run deep, concealed behind polite smiles or stoic expressions, and they stem from a lifetime of experiences that can no longer be shared in the same way. It is not just the passing of time that causes this sorrow, but the poignant realization of what has been lost along the way: loved ones, a sense of purpose, independence, and the familiar comforts of a life once vibrant and full. For many, the sorrow begins with the loss of their roles in life. The parent who once held the family together, the breadwinner who worked tirelessly to provide, or the friend who was always present at gatherings. These identities fade with age. In their place is a new reality, one where the elderly are often perceived as dependent rather than dependable. This shift is deeply painful, as it can feel like an erasure of everything they once stood for. Longing, too, is ever present. It is a yearning for connection, for the warmth of familiar voices, for the embrace of those they hold dear. Many elderly individuals in old age homes long for visits from their families, dreaming of seeing their children and grandchildren walk through the door. When these visits are infrequent or absent, the longing becomes sharper, leading them to grapple with questions of whether they are still loved or valued. They may find themselves replaying old conversations or imagining moments they wish could have been, creating an inner world that bridges the gap between their hopes and reality. There is also a longing for the past, an ache for a time when life was full of promise, when health and energy were abundant, and when their days were filled with meaningful activity. Memories of youthful adventures, enduring friendships, and simple pleasures resurface with a bittersweet clarity. These memories bring comfort, but also a profound sadness, as they are reminders of a time that can never be reclaimed. Unspoken sorrow often manifests in subtle ways. A sigh that goes unnoticed, a gaze that lingers on an old photograph, or a quiet withdrawal from social interactions. These signs are easily overlooked by others, especially in environments where staff and caregivers are stretched thin. Yet, behind these small gestures lies a deep well of emotion, grief for the life they once had, and for the connections they yearn to rekindle. But this sorrow and longing are not immutable. They can be eased by understanding, empathy, and genuine human connection. Small acts of kindness, a shared cup of tea, a listening ear, or a heartfelt conversation can bring light into the shadows of their sadness. Recognizing their worth, hearing their stories, and celebrating their existence can transform unspoken sorrow into a sense of belonging and peace. The unspoken emotions of the elderly remind us that even in the quietest moments of their lives, they remain deeply human, filled with the same desires for love, recognition, and purpose that define us all. The responsibility of society toward its elderly is both profound and inescapable, touching on the very essence of what it means to be compassionate, just, and humane. A society that values its people must extend its care and respect to those who have spent their lives contributing to its fabric. The elderly are not merely relics of the past. They are living witnesses to history, reservoirs of wisdom, and embodiments of resilience. Our duty to them is not a matter of charity, but of moral obligation and mutual respect. One of the fundamental responsibilities of society is to ensure the well-being of the elderly by addressing their physical, emotional, and social needs. As people age, they become more vulnerable to health challenges, reduced mobility, and the gradual loss of independence. Society must provide robust healthcare systems that are accessible and responsive to their unique needs. This includes not only medical treatment, but also preventative care and palliative support, ensuring that they can live with dignity and comfort. Equally important is addressing the emotional and psychological well-being of the elderly. Loneliness and isolation are pervasive issues that affect countless older adults, particularly those in old age homes or living alone. Society must create spaces where they feel connected and valued, fostering environments that encourage social interaction and engagement. Community centers, intergenerational programs, and cultural activities can provide opportunities for them to share their experiences and form meaningful connections. These initiatives remind them that they are an integral part of the community, not separate or forgotten. Respecting the dignity of the elderly means recognizing their continued value and contributions. Too often society marginalizes older adults, viewing them through the narrow lens of their limitations rather than their strengths. Yet, their wealth of experience, knowledge, and insight can enrich every aspect of communal life, creating opportunities for the elderly to mentor younger generations, participate in decision-making processes, and contribute to cultural and social endeavors, allows them to remain active participants in society. Another crucial aspect of societal responsibility is fostering a culture of empathy and understanding. This begins with education, teaching younger generations to value and respect the elderly, to listen to their stories, and to appreciate the sacrifices they have made. This cultural shift can challenge stereotypes about aging and create a more inclusive and compassionate society where every individual, regardless of age, feels respected and valued. Furthermore, policymakers must prioritize the needs of the elderly in their agendas, enacting laws and policies that safeguard their rights, provide financial security, and ensure access to essential services. Affordable housing, reliable public transportation, and caregiver support programs are just some of the measures that can significantly improve their quality of life. Ultimately, the responsibility of society is to affirm the humanity of its elderly population. By caring for them, listening to them, and honoring their place in the community, society not only upholds its moral duty, but also reaffirms its own humanity. In serving the elderly with compassion and respect, we create a legacy of kindness and solidarity that benefits all generations. In a world that often celebrates grand gestures and monumental achievements, the profound impact of small, thoughtful acts is sometimes overlooked. For the elderly, especially those in old age homes, these seemingly minor gestures can hold immense power. They carry the ability to bridge gaps of loneliness, affirm a sense of worth, and bring moments of joy and comfort to lives that might otherwise feel overlooked. A kind word, a gentle touch, or a warm smile may seem insignificant, but for someone who spends much of their day in quiet solitude, such gestures can be transformative. A simple, "How are you today?" delivered with genuine interest can open the door to meaningful conversation, making the recipient feel seen and valued. It's not the complexity of the gesture, but the sincerity behind it that carries weight. The elderly, having lived through decades of experience, often possess a heightened sensitivity to authenticity. They can discern when an act is done out of duty versus genuine care, and the latter holds far greater power to uplift. The physical act of touch, such as holding a hand or offering a hug, can also speak volumes. For many elderly individuals, physical touch becomes increasingly rare as they age. A hand held during a moment of vulnerability or a gentle pat on the back can convey warmth and reassurance far beyond words. These small acts remind them of their humanity, bridging the gap between isolation and connection. Listening is another powerful, yet often underestimated gesture. Taking the time to sit and truly hear someone's story is a gift that cannot be overstated. The elderly, with their treasure trove of memories, often yearn to share their experiences. but they may hesitate, fearing they will be dismissed or interrupted. Offering them the space to speak and listening with intent not only validates their experiences but also fosters a deep sense of belonging. This act of acknowledgement can rekindle their sense of purpose and remind them that their lives and stories still hold meaning. Even practical gestures such as helping with small tasks can have a profound impact. Assisting someone with carrying their belongings, writing a letter, or adjusting a blanket on a cold day may seem mundane, but these acts of care provide comfort and ease, showing them that they are not alone. It is in these moments that empathy is made tangible, reminding them that their need. The beauty of small gestures lies in their accessibility. They require neither great resources nor extraordinary effort. Anyone, regardless of age or status, can extend them. A phone call, a handwritten note, or a spontaneous visit can brighten the day of someone who feels forgotten. Collectively, these small gestures weave a larger fabric of care and compassion. They remind the elderly that they are not invisible but cherished. They affirm that even in a world that often prioritizes speed and progress, there is still time for kindness. It is through these acts that we uphold the dignity of others and in doing so reaffirm the very essence of our shared humanity. The time has come to rise above passive acknowledgement and embrace a collective responsibility to care for the elderly. The plight of those living in old age homes and beyond is not an isolated issue, but a reflection of our societal priorities and values. A call to action is not merely an invitation, but a necessity, an urgent appeal to restore dignity, connection, and purpose to the lives of those who shape the world we now inhabit. Our first step must be to recognize the humanity of the elderly. Too often they are viewed through a lens of limitation rather than possibility, their years of contribution overshadowed by the challenges of aging. This perspective must change. We must remind ourselves and others that these individuals are the architects of our present, carrying the wisdom of experience and the scars of sacrifice. Their stories, voices, and needs deserve to be heard, respected, and addressed with the same fervor as any other demographic. To answer this call, families must re-evaluate their roles in the lives of their elderly members. A phone call, a visit, or even a few moments of meaningful conversation can have a profound impact. These are not burdensome tasks, but opportunities to express gratitude and strengthen bonds. Families should also actively involve their elderly relatives in decisions, celebrating their autonomy rather than undermining it. When children and grandchildren engage with their elders, they not only honor them, but also learn invaluable lessons in resilience, love, and perspective. Communities, too, play a crucial role in this mission. Local governments, organizations, and citizens must come together to create supportive environments where the elderly can thrive. Initiatives such as intergenerational programs, community events, and accessible public spaces can help bridge the gap between generations and combat the isolation so many elderly individuals face. Volunteers can step forward to lend their time, offering companionship, assistance, and a listening ear to those who have long been silent. On a broader scale, policymakers must take deliberate action to prioritize the needs of the elderly. This includes enacting laws that ensure affordable health care, accessible housing, and social security systems that provide financial stability. Investments in training for caregivers, both professional and familial, can equip them to provide compassionate and policymakers must also ensure that old age homes are properly funded, staffed, and regulated, transforming these institutions from places of resignation to havens of comfort and dignity. Education is another vital component of this movement. Schools and media platforms must foster a culture that values and respects the elderly. Teaching younger generations to view aging as a natural, honorable process rather than a decline can create a society that embraces its elderly with open arms. Ultimately, this call to action is about creating a world where the elderly are not merely cared for but celebrated. Their presence enriches our lives, and our responsibility to them enriches our humanity. The time to act is now. Every small effort, every kind word, and every thoughtful gesture contributes to a future where aging is met with dignity, joy, and love.